So this is how we're gonna start the day, huh? I look over my shoulder and I got those teeth popping out looking at me. You're rolling around on your back with your hands and feet up in the air. Looking like a crazy lunatic. What's up, crazy lunatic? How are you today, Jaw? Good morning, bud. Look at those eyes. Look at those teeth. Who couldn't love that face? Let's go out and have some fun, my friend. I'm thinking, taking you for a walk. Look how excited you're getting. Then I'm gonna, while I was over in Culver City yesterday, I had an idea of another vlog I want to do over there, so I'm just gonna go back over and do it. I probably should have just done it then. And then I think I'm gonna go see It today. I think I'm gonna go to the matinee of It. And I might actually show the inside of that theater because I mentioned it in a past vlog and couldn't get in. Oh, you had to get the attention on you. Okay. Well, Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. I want to hit the stop button, but you won't quit being hilarious. Well, my lion hearts, this might be one of the most depressing vlogs I ever do. Because, you know, I honestly, before I got here, I didn't know what I was going to see. They called this place a park, but I necessarily wouldn't call it that. What you're looking at right now, though, is, well, let me show you. God, this is depressing. No respect. No respect at all. This is the former site of Hal Roach Studios. The man that, I mean, gosh, where do I start? Now where that yellow circle is where we're standing right now. And there's the iconic front of Hal Roach Studios. He basically got his start with Universal Pictures. He was an extra, a cowboy. And one of his buddies that he made while he was at Universal playing an extra turned out to be a man who would basically make this studio what it was, put it on the map, and made it earn all the money that would eventually create the Laugh Factory that used to stand here. Harold Lloyd. They worked together as extras, and Hal Roach told Harold of a dream he had of creating movies, and a couple of years later, Hal would eventually start his own studio that once resided here, the Laugh Factory. The place where Laurel and Hardy made their name, Our Gang, also known as the Little Rascals, Snub Pollard, Charlie Chase, and of course, man, Harold Lloyd. In fact, Hal Roach said when he met Harold Lloyd, he said he wasn't even a comedian, he wasn't even like a funny guy, he was just such a good actor that he could play a comedian, he could play a funny guy, and when we would make pictures and I would direct him, he would say, what does he do? What does the character do? He would never reply or he would never say like, what do I do? And he said, you know, until he put the glasses on, Harold Lloyd wasn't a star. But he said that Harold Lloyd was the man whose brilliance in these pictures, Safety Last and things like that, hanging off that clock, would put this place on the map. And then one day, Hal Roach was out here and he was trying to come up with ideas of what kind of shorts to make. See, the first year he was making pictures, he was actually making drama pictures and comedy, but he invested so much money in the actual making of the pictures that he didn't have anything left to distribute the pictures. So when he finally got Pathé to sign on to distribute a few, they only wanted the comedies, so he goes, well, that's it, then we're only doing comedies now. And that became how this studio became what it was.
he said he heard some commotion one day as he's in his office, and he looks out the window and he sees these group of boys, young kids, arguing over pieces of wood. And like the youngest kid, the smallest kid had the biggest piece, and the bigger kid wanted that piece, and they're arguing back and forth. And he said he realized after he watched them for 10-15 minutes that he said, it doesn't matter what kids do, they're funny. Like, they're just funny to watch. So he said that became the inspiration for our gang, and he started auditioning kids and would eventually find kids. But much like the way the world works is that these kids do get older, and he would have to replace them, and some of them never had careers ever again. After the age of like 10 or 11 years old, they never worked again. But he said that this was also sorry, we got a train going by. This was also where he decided to put together Laurel and Hardy. Both guys were under contract here individually, and Hardy was playing a villain, and Stanley actually almost didn't have a career. What happened was that when they originally tested Stanley for movies, the type of film they were using in those days was not very accommodating to blue eyes, and it actually washed out his eyes. So they go, well, his eyes are too blue, he can't be a star. And then all of a sudden this new film came out that accommodated that, and Stanley, they put him as a star in this picture, and immediately Hal Roach said, I watched their chemistry together and I knew there was something there. He said, because I realized watching those two how important not only it was to keep the laughs going. If you lost the laughs, then you could never get them back. But he said, I also realized how important it was to have reactions, and how important sometimes not only what Stanley was doing as the gag would be important, but Ollie's reaction to it would make the gag funnier. And this was also kind of an interesting learning lesson, because Hal Roach was a pretty smart businessman. He was one of the early people that realized, well, they're a duo, but as long as I make their contracts end at different times, I'll have them over a barrel. So what he would do is, like, he would lowball Oliver, knowing that if Oliver didn't sign the contract, there was no more Laurel and Hardy, because Stanley was already under contract for another year or two. And so eventually, years into this happening, Stanley decided to wait out when his contract ended. He actually just didn't work for, like, I believe it was a year and a half, and waited for Oliver's contract to end, and that's eventually how that ended. But it's just crazy to think that right here, this is all that's left of Hal Roach Studios. So much comedy came out of these grounds. I mean, just look, it's now, like I said, they call it a park. It's a few park benches and the local transit system going over top of it, and just nothing, not a statue of Hal Roach, not a statue of Laurel and Hardy, nothing of our gang. Pretty much forgotten in time here, except for this little, I guess, appropriate grave marker. Now, one thing about Hal Roach that I do give him a lot of props on is that he knew when things were failures. He said, like, even though it wasn't a major failure, he did explore into making feature-length pictures, and made Of Mice and Men, and it did get nominated for awards, and he made those Topper movies that Cary Grant would kind of get started in being seen a lot in. But he said overall what he realized was that he was good at making comedy, and that he said, I could do a comedy in 30 minutes, but anything longer than that, and I felt like I was going to lose the audience, and it just wasn't my strength. One of the funny stories he did tell, though, was that he said he was talking about how when movies went from silent pictures to talkies, the very first one that they filmed and that he was watching the dailies of, he said, we're sitting in there watching the dailies, and after a take, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, yeah, that was a pretty good take, and then I hear a guy in the room say, that's good, that was a good one, and I'm thinking, well, who is that? I'm the director here. And then they watch the next take, and he says the same thing. He goes, I hear a guy in the back going, oh yeah, that was a good take, keep it. He goes, and then he goes, I'm starting to really get mad because I'm the director here and I decide what stays and what goes. And he goes, the third time he did it and I stand up and I go, who is it that keeps talking? Who is it that keeps saying that? And Hal Roach's assistant stood up and said, Mr. Roach, that's you. That's on the film. The process was all so new that he had never heard his own voice, so he didn't know that that was his voice talking. I thought that was a pretty funny story. So there you go. Long live Hal Roach Studios, and the man without, we may have never had Harold Lloyd, Laurel and Hardy, Our Gang, and this is all that's left of the Laugh Factory. Wah, wah, wah. Just to take in some of the significance of how important Hal Roach Studios was, beyond just the comedy, was that in Culver City, other than what I showed you guys the other day about how, you know, Tom Ince started here, other than that, Hal Roach was one of the pioneers in not only comedy, but in Culver City and starting studios here. And he was actually, his studio here was opened, I believe, in 1919. And closed down in the 60s, I think 67, and actually it's probably right here. 63, 1919 to 1963. That was opened up 5 years before MGM became MGM, when it was still Metro separately, Goldwyn separately. We can't lose our history, guys. There should be more than just this gravestone to Hal Roach Studios. And when Hal Roach Studios closed in 1963, they sold it off piece by piece at an auction. Anyone who wanted a piece could own it, and that was the sad end of Hal Roach Studios. And now this is where Hal Roach Studios once was. I want to believe and I want to imagine that little rail cart that's sitting right there on the ground, Stan and Ollie doing some sort of gag with it. Well guys, unfortunately, or fortunately I guess for me, I got an offer for some catering work tonight, and told him I was available, so I'm gonna have to postpone going to see the movie probably for 2 days because I have to work on something tomorrow. So unfortunately, I'm sorry to tease you guys, but I will go see the movie here in the next 2 days, and I'll do like a little review on it. I haven't been to the movie theater in so long that I'm actually looking forward to seeing something like it in the theater. But when there's a chance to make some money before you go away, it's totally irresponsible not to, so I'm gonna work instead of going to the movie. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take a walk with this guy before I go work now. So of course I had to clean up my appearance a little bit. I had to shave and do all that stuff. I was kind of slumming it earlier because I didn't think I had to be anywhere or be seen, but now I have to, so. I don't know who this guy is. I had to order a new swimsuit because when I was in Iceland and I went to the Blue Lagoon, my swimsuit, I don't know if it was just too old or if it was too big, but it just kept like kind of sliding off a little bit whenever I was swimming. So since it was wet when I was done, I just ditched it there. I just threw it in the trash. And since I'm going to be hitting the thermal baths in Budapest, I wanted to get a new one. Found it on Amazon for like $6-7. Nothing fancy, just something basic, you know, in case I decide to ditch this one too. Alright guys, I'm going to work and I'll see you when I get done. Fill you in on what's going on. I like that walkway up there, that is awesome. What a great courtyard. Alright guys, well I'm home, and it was a pretty easy gig. It was actually only 4 hours and I'm done and I'm home and I'm gonna call it a night. I wanted to thank, and I hope I get this name right, Debbie Wojcik for becoming my newest Patreon, and I got an email today from a couple of girls saying that they watch every day with their father, and they asked me if I could wish their father a happy birthday for them. So from Lexi and Ellie, Mike, happy birthday in Owego, I think that's it, Owego, New York. Happy birthday. Everybody else, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing the former home of Hal Roach's Laugh Factory. I mean, I almost, in a lot of ways, I kind of almost wish I wouldn't have seen that. It was so depressing to see what used to be there and what's there now, but that's history for you. I guess if you don't see things like that upset you, you'll never do anything to change them. So I guess I understand why there are people out there and advocates out there that are always working on trying to get monuments and statues and stuff put up. So have a great night. I will see y'all tomorrow. I have to work most of the day tomorrow, so I don't know what I'm going to give you. I don't know if it's going to be a vlog that I already filmed in Sweden or Iceland or wherever, Guam, wherever else I was, or if I will find something in that neighborhood to vlog for you. Have a great night. Your surprise will be my surprise. Goodbye.